Marlon Matthews, mechanical engineer at GE Healthcare, and you're watching TFG 365 TV.
I've always been interested in science and the sciences. I wanted to get into mechanical engineering with a bio concentration because it was faster than becoming a doctor. I could help people sooner out of school, and I would be in a position to make a difference sooner. So I went to WPI to study that and graduated this past May with my mechanical engineering degree. But since last January, I had this feeling that, I would have a job through either, people telling me that they had contacts for me to talk to, or just, the positivity that the people had around my impending success. Everything just felt so good. But as the months kind of went on, the prospects and the promises that I had started to kind of fall apart. But despite all that, I just had so much support and positivity coming from my friends and family. They were praying for me. They were, keeping me encouraged. They were just being positive and being there for me, even when it was just interview after interview with no callbacks or offers. But then, just very recently, on the 9th of January, I had my interview with General Electric in their healthcare division. And that day, I got the offer to come on board. And it was like fireworks going off in my heart. Like, it was probably the happiest I've been since graduation. It was just another milestone, another triumph. It was the opening of a new chapter of my life, and I was overjoyed to continue and start this new part of my life. And then on the 22nd, this past Tuesday, was my first day. And it's been everything I've hoped it could be. The community is fantastic. It's, people that truly want to make a difference and want to use their gifts and talents, their education to make the world a better place. So I'm just so blessed to have gotten this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to learning everything I can while being here.
Good morning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to TFG 365 TV. I'm the executive producer, Unique Jackson, and I'm excited to have you join us today for a very important topic. Today, we are launching our first video series of Don't Stop, Keep Pushing. This is where we want to encourage our amazing, strong brown and black men and boys not to give up on your dreams just because of what's happening in this season, unfortunately, in America and around the world. So many of us are watching the news, and it's disheartening to see what's happening to our men. And at times, from what I've seen, it having a discussion with my husband, my son, and friends of ours, where many of our strong men are feeling very sad at this moment. They're grieving at this time. And several weeks ago, when things took place with Ahmaud Arbery, I felt in my heart that we need to continue to flood our timelines with more positive messages, more messages that would give us hope, and as well as a platform where we can discuss solutions, not only within the Black community, but invite other cultures, other industries to the table for us to discuss how are we going to get behind our men, encourage, motivate, and affirm them, but also address the touchy topic of racism, and what strategies are we going to implement to help eradicate it altogether. And I know I'm a woman, I'm not a man, I don't know the deep pain our men are feeling, but I feel as though it's important that we shouldn't allow the victim to be the one spearheading these walks, these protests or so. We need to be the ones rallying behind them. White men, white women, Black women, Hispanic, Asians, all cultures, we need to come together to kind of get to the root of the problem, so that way they don't feel discouraged, feel broken, and retreat and give up on the very things that God has put in their heart to accomplish. And that's what we're going to be doing today to discuss the importance of motivation. We're going to touch on some hard topics, but ultimately, it's with the whole purpose of encouraging you to push forward with the dreams that you have on your heart. So, I have my co host today who's going to be joining us, Jamal Smith, as well as I invited Kingsley Grant to join the conversation today, and Andre Harrison, which both of them I admire, all of them I admire as far as their point of view and what they bring to the table in order to help us come up with more solutions to help in any way that we can to push the conversation forward in a positive way. Welcome, Jamal.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, I'm enjoying this warm weather up here.
Oh, yes, you're in Virginia.
Yeah, it went from cold to hot, cold, that's hot again.
Oh man, well, we're so glad to have you. You're one of our improv team members on our show called The Situation Lounge, and we touched on some hot topics and hard
Yeah.
topics, I would say, within the last few weeks. So glad you're able to be with us today. And Kingsley Grant, the author of the book, The Emotelligent Leader. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Good to be here. Good to join such a lively discussion and people that I also admire that have something to say of great value. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And Andre D. Harrison, I'm going to emphasize in the D because there are other Andres out there, but no one like Andre Harrison. I'm so glad you're able to join us. He's actually the author of a book called From a Fatherless Father to His Sons. Welcome today, Andre. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.
Yes. So, gentlemen, I mean, at some points I'm going to be stepping away from the conversation, but I wanted to make sure that Training for Greatness did set up this opportunity for us to have a healthy conversation and to encourage those of you who are watching on YouTube and Facebook to chime in as well. Whether you have questions or you want to share your voice, we want to hear from you. All right, so to start off, we are going to focus on the area of emotelligence. That's where we want to make sure that we succeed where others fail when it comes down to our emotions being reactive and things of that nature. And Kingsley Grant is the king of that topic. Kingsley, share with us more. When you say emotelligent leader, can you give us some insight on what does that mean?
Sure. Thank you for asking the question because I think it's a very pertinent question, especially in a time like this. Really, it's a set of skills that leaders have or individuals ought to have that is founded on emotional intelligence that helps leaders, people become more effective, better at decision-making, relationship management, and work performance. So really is a set of skills that are being taught that when they're implemented, it allows you as a person, mostly as a leader, to truly guide people in a manner where your results are what it is you're looking for, is more positive and more healthy. So it's really a set of skills that I find when implemented, get us better results.
Thank you. Now, with everything taking place in the media, we're being bombarded with negative images as it relates to brown and black men being arrested, being murdered, abused. And there was a post that Will Smith shared, and I'm paraphrasing, where it referenced that racism hasn't stopped, it's just being recorded. And we're seeing this image. How do we apply being an emotelligent leader, but yet seeing so much injustice happening? Like how do we navigate our emotions when it's so negative?
I think the key is being able to regulate those emotions, because we know that when we are emotionally hijacked or emotionally driven, more times than none, our decisions, our actions are going to be ones that we regret is going to cause more pain to us or to someone else. And unfortunately, that is where most people fall by the wayside. We don't allow our rational brain to take control. And we can see even right now what's happening in our country when it comes to what we're experiencing, unfortunately, is not just an individual, but a group of people that are pretty much, for the most part, I'm not speaking across the board, some are, but some are not, are emotionally hijacked. And when we see people who are behaving from that place, never the results is going to be constructive. It's not going to get us what we want. And so we're going to become more frustrated. So it's going to create more pain. So I find the more emotionally intelligent or emotelligent a person can become, where they can regulate their emotions, the chance is they have a better opportunity to get their results that they're looking for.
It's a lot because we're seeing people rioting, looting. In a sense, they're saying, hey, you know what? They didn't listen before. When we held signs, we sang Kumbaya. They need to feel our pain. And when you said as far as in leadership, it's important for us to balance that, right? Where yes, we feel the anger, we feel pain, we have empathy, but how do we handle that? Now, I'm going to play a clip right now. It's a clip that surfaced of the young lady who actually filmed the death of Gregory Floyd. Take a look. All right. Well, in that video, she shared that here it was, she was just on her way to the store with her cousin, and that she saw what took place, and she decided to take her phone out and record what happened. She mentioned how traumatizing that experience was, and even though her video went viral and thousands of people reshared it and things of that nature, I think we're ready to play the video at this time.
Oh my God. I posted a video last night and it just went viral. And everybody asked me how I feel. I don't know how to feel. This man was literally right here at 5 p.m. yesterday. I'm walking my cousin to the store and I just see him on the ground. I'm like, what is going on? I pull my camera out. This man could not breathe at all. He's like, please, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, and they did not care. They killed this man. And I was like 5 feet away. It is so traumatizing.
Yeah, that video is really hard to watch, and I could only imagine how she's feeling at the time, being the person who recorded the video. And many of us are watching, and we're saying to ourselves, Kingsley Grant, we're saying, we don't know how to feel. We are upset, we're angry, we're frustrated, but I can only imagine how our Black and brown men feel watching someone who is a reflection of them as far as the color of their skin, but they're going to work every day, they're raising their family every day, And I know there are times where my husband this week was like, I just need to turn off the news. I need to turn off social media because I am I'm just in a place where I'm sad. I don't know what to do, and I just don't know how to feel. How do we navigate with that? Applying emotelligence, but seeing and being bombarded with it every day.
I think that all of us as human beings, we have emotions. Obviously, we've seen that so often today. So when a person would say, I don't really go and do things by my emotions, really, that's just really nonsense. Our emotions are what get us active and get us to do things that we need to do. So as I watch that, like you have and so many have, both what she posted as well as what she just said, our immediate thing, we're feeling something in our body. So our physiology says, okay, something is happening. My breathing is becoming faster. Maybe there's something happening to my body. What is it? So really it's informing us we're feeling something. So if you're emotelligent and you practice the skill of regulating and recognizing your emotions, know yourself. Okay, I'm feeling maybe anger. Well, what does that mean? What part of anger am I feeling? So it could be hurt, frustration, or it could be a sense of fear. Those emotions are truly the primary emotions that drives anger. Well, okay, so what am I going to accomplish here? What do I want to accomplish? I cannot solve a problem with another problem. I can only solve a problem with a solution. It's impossible to think solution focused when my emotions are driving the engine of my car. So I've got to step back. Now, this is where it takes regulation. This is where we have to know ourselves and realize that if we are going to get what we want in a more positive and healthy way, it's not going to come when our emotions, which are not given the task, our emotions are not being tasked to make good decision. It's only tasked to inform us of something. What's been tasked to allow us to make good decision is our prefrontal cortex of our brain, where we process. And unless we can get there, we're going to have more problems on top of problems. So as much as I'm moved emotionally, as you are and every other person is by that, I have to step aside and ask a question. What do I want to see as a result of this? And maybe, like you said, step away for a moment, take some deep breath, remove myself physically from the constant bombardment of those things, so I can allow the rational thought to be activated, so I can have better results and make better decisions. Because from that space where people are emotionally driven, and here's the part, Yannick, which I think so many people have don't realize, emotions are contagious. So if I'm around a person who's emotionally driven, whether it's anger or any other emotion, it's not too long before I can also be a receptor of that and now become infected by that emotion, because our brains work that way. We mirror through our mirror neurons of our brain. We pick up on people's emotions. Have you ever watched a movie or a game and you get into the game and you want to talk to the TV and all that stuff because our emotions are activated? We don't make decisions that way. We should not, let's put it that way, because we never make good decisions. So as much as we are driven by that, we've got to find a way to pull back. And that's where emotelligent comes in. And I believe if we have a more emotelligent world, leadership and people, parents and children, we have a better chance of getting better results and get what we want rather than what we don't want. Because now what has happened, unfortunately, and this is a fact, that the attention has been taken away from the real issue that first started and now placed on something else that's become a distraction. And so it's not serving us any good. I understand the frustration, but at the end of the day, what did we really want? And what are we now getting? And what we're getting going to cause more frustration because we never got what we wanted in the first place.
Thank you. So as we bring Jamal into the conversation, Kingsley, I would like to know from you, what are some strategies, or maybe 3 strategies our brown and black men should implement as it relates to them wanting to take actions into their own hands to solve what's happening in our nation? What are three positive solutions or steps that they should take to, in a sense, making sure that their emotions are not being moved to do harm to themselves or others, but in a way to push forward in a more positive way that will implement um, have a better impact, I would say, long term versus short term
Right.
negative gratification.
I think there are, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is as a man, as a person, as a leader, how do you want to be remembered? I mean, look at Martin Luther King. How is he being remembered? He practiced very, very effective emotional intelligence, obviously. And what he realized was, if I want to leave a legacy to my children or to others, I've got to find a way to find a more constructive way. So as men, we got to ask ourselves the question, what do we want to model for those who are watching our lives? We have people, our children and others watching us. And if we want to pass on a legacy to our children, especially the Black community, we've got to find a way, what will I do differently? So I would just say, number one is ask a question. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? Number two, you might ask yourself the question, how am I managing my relationships? Whether it's friend for our family, right? How am I managing my relationships, right? And I would say thirdly, so first is, how do I want to be remembered? Secondly, how am I managing my relationships? And number three is, how am I growing myself through all of this? Because, I spoke about this just recently, that in our disruption times like this, we're being disrupted by all these things. Every disruption has life in it. And as a mother, you know this very well, Yannick. Your life was disrupted when you first got pregnant, because as time went on, you could not sleep as comfortable as you once were in your normal stage. Disruption, right? Your diet changed, disruption. So everything was disrupted for you. Your cycle changed, disruption. But in that disruption, life was there. And so my strong statement to every man, every male, every Black man is simply this: do not abort.
That's a good point. Before I got on, I got a chance to talk with a friend of mine who actually went through an experience and he survived. And he shared, like you said, the whole emotional aspect of it. And one of the things that it was hard to walk away from is we protest peacefully, nothing has happened. You get angry. We riot, people pay attention to us, nothing happens. If we do nothing, nothing happens. And he asked me, he's just like, what do you do? And I told him, first off, I can't relate because I've never been abused by a police officer, but I understand the violation that takes place. But you have a lot of people today that are going through these emotions and they're trying to wonder, especially as a Black man, it's like every time these things happen, we feel like we're being demoralized and continue to be brought down to the base. It's like, how do you talk to someone who's already angry and they're justified in their anger, but they see you as, well, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't be able to relate.
It's a great point you're making, because, I have personally experienced police pointing gun at myself, my wife, and my son. We experienced that firsthand at a point where I believe if we had not acted correctly, I might not have been here today. I don't know. I'm here, obviously, but something happened because we were driving. We had gone to test drive a car. We happened to be in a neighborhood where we were looking for a car for our son. And the person said, go ahead and test drive the car. We got in there innocently, driving this car down the street, right? And it was in an area, I mentioned an area which is kind of a high crime area. And the next thing I know was I saw this car that pulled out ahead of me. And for me, my pet peeve is, if you're going to pull out in front of me, make sure you speed up, don't slow down. And this car, right? So this car slowed down, and I'm thinking, who's this crazy person? Why would they, get out? I started getting worked up. And then it slowed down some more. And then quickly I saw, before I could think, I saw lights flashing behind me. I'm thinking, you know, maybe they're going to pass me and go to get this driver in front of me who they saw cut out and was driving, you know, to me, have interfered with the flow of traffic. No, the light remained behind me and pulled me over. And then I saw the car before me, light started flashing, was an undercover officer. And before we had time to react, we saw police coming out of the front car and behind, guns drawn, put your hands up, put your hands up. And I was, you know, driving, so I put my hands on the dashboard and my wife was beside me. I said, you know, keeping calm and try as best as I could to calm that situation, because if I acted, who knows what could have happened. My son was in the back seat, hands on the dashboard. And the officer said, looked in. And then, I mean, it happened in a split second, but it seemed like eternity. Then they start talking, and they looked in some more and put their guns down and said, we're sorry. This car matched the description of a car that was involved in a crime incident the night before. And we thought this was a car.
Oh.
And so we're sorry to have done this. You may go. Can you imagine what that was like for us? Talk about traumatized. My heart was almost out of my mouth. I thought the wrong move I made, just one slight move, could have cost me my life or my family's life. Right there in that moment. I've been there. I knew what that was. Now, I wasn't even as emotionally intelligent or emo-intelligent as I am today. It's some years back, right? But that spirit, that protected my life. So I can understand the anger and the frustration. But here's what happened. When we begin to project that onto every other police officer or person because of one person's, you know, behavior, that's not right, because it's now making it as if everybody is that way. So we become suspicious of everybody we see. We walk around that way, we behave that way, we project that onto our children. So the question is now, how is that anger and that behavior going to help us in the long run? So we're going to get attention by behaving badly or not. We're going to get attention somehow. We may get attention by behaving badly, but at the end of the day, how did that serve us? And we've got to be able to still think things through.
Well, this is a good point. I think another aspect that is, remember to also put yourself in the light of the officers. Like you said, we don't want to put that label on all officers, because what they do, their job's dangerous, period.
Yeah.
Officer friends that I know, they were telling me, Jamal, like everybody else, we want to go home safely. And so I'm military, so I understand what it's like to be in a job. And it says every day we get out of a car, we've got a target on us, whether good or bad. So I guess another aspect of this, also think of the emotions that flow from these officers, because it amazes me that a lot of these companies are now having to do racial sensitivity training, which kind of blows my mind, because I'm like, why is that even something you need to teach? Isn't that something that should be instinctual? So my question is, as a country as a whole, where do you think emotionally America is as opposed to where it should be?
You know, I think emotionally we need to be taught emotion, because you think about it in school, for example, where do you find any, you know, maybe now in nowadays it might be, but I went through high school, you know, college, university, and I did not have a topic taught about how to be emotionally intelligent. Did you?
No, I didn't.
We're taught everything else, but one of the most critical topic that if we are able to manage is our emotions, because our emotions drives everything. And how, if we can go back to America, I would say simply this: begin from a very early stage of teaching and modeling emotional intelligence, which is, I would say, emo-intelligent. Imagine if the whole nation were more emo-intelligent, from the leadership all the way down. We would have a country that would be every other country would look in and be jealous, the envy of every other country. So I would simply say, a great question you're asking, and I'm glad you asked that question, because I believe it has to begin by teaching how to manage our emotions properly. Great question. I love it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing on that. And we have, for those of you who are tuned in to Don't Stop, Keep Pushing, I want to say thank you for joining us today. And we have a question that popped up in the chat. And the person mentioned, and this is Hurt One, who would have a kid and a female after they committed a crime with said vehicle in the vehicle. When I read that, what I remember a story of just even why this got started in the first place. It was several years ago after Trayvon Martin was murdered. I used to have not even mild, but panic attacks when my husband would go out. And by the way, for those of you who do not know my husband, he is a very tall, handsome, but tall, he's very built and he's 6'4". He says 6'3.5". I say 6'4". But he's a big guy. And in the mornings, he will go running with his black hoodie. And I tried not to freak out and fuss him out. Like, you need to get back in this house, change your clothes, because there's no way you're going to go out there. You already look intimidating for those who don't know you. And he's a nice guy, by the way. But my fear was, if he's working out in the morning, what if a cop sees him? What if someone automatically assumes that he's coming after them when he's just minding his business because he loves to keep his AirPods in? And while he's working out, I'm like, you're oblivious to what's going on, and you need to be aware of your surroundings, aware of what you wear. And it's like, I just felt that that was something that I was experiencing personally. I had a conversation with other women, and come to find out, women who are married, they felt the same way. They would get very upset at their husbands if they wore a black hoodie or if they worked out. And now with what took place recently, and there's many of us who feel that way. I spoke with another woman who shared with me that she was afraid to have a black son. She did not want to bring a black son into this world with what's going on in our nation. So Kingsley Grant, can you help us who we have best intentions when we try to encourage our black and brown men not to do certain things, but in a sense, it's out of fear of them getting harmed or end up being killed. Can you help us? Like, how do we manage our emotions when in this season, where there's a lot of fear being projected, and it's just a scary time.
It sure is. And I really understand, empathize as much as possible with that situation, people who find themselves that way. But if you think about what you describe is really fear driven, we cannot live our lives from a place of fear, or else it paralyzes us and we do nothing. And so the question is, what are our alternative? Because what happened is, as you said just now, that our beliefs shapes our behavior. If I believe that I'm a suspect, or I am going to be, constantly having somebody watching over me or wanting to kill me, then I'm going to live my life in a very paralyzed way, never become innovative, never become creative, really just like shut in, right? So we live in our lives in the what if scenario. We cannot live our lives in a what if scenario because we cannot manage what ifs. We don't know what ifs might be. Yes, we can put the best as we can. What if it rains? Can get an umbrella, right? So I can cover myself, but that's as much as I can do. I can't stop the rain. So I find that sometimes it's begin to look at our belief system, look at our narratives. Is it serving us? Because the more I think about that, the more that is likely to happen, because I may make the wrong move because I'm thinking I'm about to be shot, so to speak, so I make the wrong move. So I find that it's really go back to what narratives we have in our head. What are we saying to ourselves? So I live my life every single day, even though I know all these things. So I just watch less news and watch my social media intake. So I can condition my mind properly and think positively and think that, you know what, today I will live my life. And this is one of my thinking process, Yannick. And I say this to every person: I cannot die before my time. And I say it boldly, and I believe it with all my heart. I cannot die before my time. So I'm not going to live my life as if I'm going to die today. If it's my time, I can't stop it. So however I will be, I would one day die, which we all will have to die. And most times people don't want to have this conversation because it's so morbid. Who wants to talk about death and dying at the dinner table? We are eating our food. We've got to realize that this is part of life. But so I believe in my heart, I cannot die before my time. So I don't worry about that. Why worry about something I cannot control? Live my life to the fullest and help people to navigate life and get the best out of life. So I would just say to wives and others, look at your narrative. How accurate is that? does the data accurately support your thinking process? Are there evidence enough to support what you're believing? If there is any shred that is not 100% accurate, then we need to go back and simply say and modify our thought process and say to ourselves, yeah, some people are get hurt, yes. What might be the conditions that led up to that, right? What if I avoid those conditions? Do I have a better chance? And the chance is yes. So of course, it's not true in all cases. There are always exceptions, but for the most part, we have to live our lives where the evidence point us to. And the evidence point to me that it's not every day I'm going to go out there and get shot and get killed. It's not true. It's not accurate. So I'm not going to believe that. So I will live my life, and I would suggest to all other people, live your life to the fullest. Do what you need to do. Make solutions a part of your daily routine. Work towards the best for humanity, and do as much as you can and live your life. You're not called to live a life of fear, but one of faith. And that's not faith. They can't coexist.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, Kingsley, for sharing that. We have a video that's coming up. Before we play that video, for those of you who are watching for the first time, thank you for joining us. Today's show is called Don't Stop, Keep Pushing. We were encouraging our brown and black men to continue to dream, continue to press forward. Go ahead and become that lawyer, be that doctor, that entertainer, counselor, therapist, mentor, that sports figure, whatever you have on your heart to do. Don't retreat. Don't neglect that vision or dream. Continue to press forward. And I know what we've shared so far, it may seem a little heavy and it's not as bubbly as some would expect. But here at Training for Greatness, we think it's important to get to the root of the issue, address the problems, assess whatever we need to assess when it comes down to trauma and those sabotaging beliefs that we have, things that we watch, things that we see, and then now get to a point of moving forward with what we have on our hearts to do. So take a look at this video. This is actually Marlon Matthews. He submitted this his story to Training for Greatness. Take a look.
Hi, this is Marlon Matthews, mechanical engineer at GE Healthcare, and you're watching TFG 365 TV.
I've always been interested in science and the sciences. I wanted to get into mechanical engineering with a bio concentration because it was faster than becoming a doctor. I could help people sooner out of school, and I would be in a position to make a difference and sooner. So I went to WPI to study that and graduated this past May with my mechanical engineering degree. But since last January, I had this feeling that, I would have a job through either, people telling me that they had contacts for me to talk to, or just, the positivity that the people had around my impending success. Everything just felt so good. But as the months kind of went on, the prospects and the promises that I had started to kind of fall apart. But despite all that, I just had so much support and positivity coming from my friends and family. They were praying for me. They were, keeping me encouraged. They were just being positive and being there for me. Even when it was just interview after interview with no, callbacks or offers. But then, just very recently, on the 9th of January, I had my interview with General Electric in their healthcare division. And that day, I got the offer to come on board. And it was like fireworks going off in my heart. Like, it was probably the happiest I've been since graduation. It was just another milestone, another triumph. It was the opening of a new chapter of my life, and I was overjoyed to continue and start this new part of my life. And then on the 22nd, this past Tuesday, was my first day. And it's been everything I've hoped it could be. The community is fantastic. It's, people that truly want to make a difference and want to use their gifts and talents, their education to make the world a better place. So I'm just so blessed to have gotten this opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to learning everything I can while being here.
Thank you, Marlon, for sharing your story. And for those of you who are watching today, we hope that encouraged you to continue to dream, continue to press forward, continue to study, and go after your heart's desire. And what he shared in the video goes into our next segment when he mentioned about he had people who rallied and supported him. They prayed for him, they encouraged him, and even in times where he wasn't sure what the future would look like, but he continued to press forward and he was persistent in going after his dream. I want to be able to talk about that with Andre D. Harrison. Andre, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, in Marlon's story, he mentioned he had a support system, and I know you have a mentorship program called the Roll Call, where you encourage fathers to be involved in the lives of their sons and their children altogether, but especially in this case, their sons. And for those who may not have a father who's involved in their life, you encourage mentorship, seeking out someone at their church or in their community. Andre, share with us more about the roll call and how important mentorship is.
So roll call is about promoting responsibility, opportunity, leadership, and education to young men to see them advance in any area of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that trying to remove any kind of excuse for anybody, for that matter, to succeed is important. There's a lot of barriers that many people face, and getting them to see that, yeah, there may be a barrier, but the barrier doesn't have to stop you. No matter what it is that you want to accomplish, you can accomplish. Go ahead and do it, and set a plan in place. Have goals and micro goals to reach, and you can pretty much accomplish anything that you want to set out to accomplish. And as it pertains to families and in particular young men who are growing up without fathers, they too have an opportunity to succeed in life and not look at their present situation as a barrier from being successful in life. They can do anything that they want to do. They can do anything that they set their heart out to do if they work toward it. Surround themselves around the proper people, find mentors that are willing to see them succeed, and they can do whatever it is that they want to do. They can accomplish anything.
Thank you for that. Now, earlier in the show, Kingsley mentioned that emotions are infectious.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have negative emotions, you have to be mindful of who's around you, because you can end up projecting that, and then it's like a domino effect. With what's happening in our country today and what we're seeing in the media, we're in tough times. As far as emotionally, someone in the YouTube chat mentioned that, they're a grandmother of 7 children, and it's stressful every single day.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at what mentorship looks like now, as it relates to within the last few weeks, can you help us as far as kind of guide us in what should we do, what should we say as it relates to encouraging our Black and brown men to continue to dream?
If I can start off by saying what we should not say,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that their feelings are not valid. From if as a Black man, right, seeing that what's happened past 2 weeks, let's just keep it at 2 weeks, is disheartening. From was the last name Cooper, lady in Central Park, who premeditated the 911 call and told the African American man that she was going to call the cops on him and tell the cops that he was African American, shows that she was fully aware of her white privilege and her power, the power that she possessed with cops as a white woman, and also exposed the dangers that a Black man has with the cops that she was fully aware of, that she broadcasted that she was going to do it. And then we see the video of Floyd on the floor pleading for his life, and the police officers not caring about his life. To have specifically young Black males, to mentor them in this kind of space is very difficult, because what we want to do is tell them, no, you can't feel this way. You got to feel positive about the situation. No, you are fully able to, because this is your feeling, to feel negatively about the situation because it's a negative situation. What we should be mentoring now is these young men in how to strategize and take action. Brother Kingsley talked about operating in faith, and I fully agree with that. But faith without works is dead. So if I believe that something is going to happen, I'm going to work toward making it happen, right? If I want to, because Martin Luther King Jr. and the Freedom Act, excuse me, and the free, well, and the freedom activists of his time didn't see the freedoms or the rights that we have today. There are things that my kids prayerfully, and my kids who are Black and brown, will see and will able to feel that I may not feel today. My hope is that in 50 years, police officers won't see young Black males as a threat. For that to happen, I'm going to mentor my young men to feel whatever they're feeling, the anger, the rage, but I'm going to mentor them in channeling it in the right place where they can make the right decisions to see change in the future. Killer Mike was on the news today, and I saw just today. If you don't know who Killer Mike is, he's a rapper from the Atlanta area. Killer Mike's father is a cop. His brother is a cop, and so he grew up in a police officer family. I too grew up in a family of law enforcement. So he said that for there to be change, the young people cannot tear down their own. They have to mobilize and make change happen in the right areas. The truth of the matter is we live in a system, and every single one of us buy into the system, whether we want to or not. Every time we work and we get income, our taxes go in and we buy into a system, whether we choose to or not. All right. We bought into the system and we continually buying into the system, and we are living in this system. And if we want the system to change, because it was designed not to have any interest of Black and brown people, for that to change, we have to be able to mentor young men and young women for that matter, but for the sake of the conversation, young men to mobilize to action, positive action that will create positive change for everybody. And so in this situation, not telling them that their feelings aren't valid or try to dumb down their rage or anger. It's to, channel it into and pointing it like a laser, taking like all that broad light and concentrating it like a laser so that it'll cut where it needs to cut for change to happen.
Thank you. As I bring in Jamal to join the conversation as well, what are some suggestions you have, Andre, for single mothers or grandmothers or guardians who do not have a male presence in the household, who we're trying our best to encourage them to push forward, but like you said, give them the space to be mad and upset, but sometimes that looks scary to us when they are frustrated and they wanted to go out and join other friends who look like them, but they might not be doing the right thing. Like, what should we do if we don't have someone to lean on in the household that look like them?
Well, no matter what, mothers should never stop, and mothers have the ability to put their foot down and tell their sons no. Like the truth, in most cases, sons who really love their mothers won't look to disappoint their moms, and I think that moms should use that power to make sure that their sons are going to be doing the right thing in this kind of situation. Because when men get angry, they can do things that can be very destructive. Black men in particular, who have been felt to be inferior for so long, now feel like they have some kind of power to do something and disrupt, as Brother Kizzy was saying, disrupt something. So mothers could really focus on talking to their sons, letting them see what the outcome of their actions could be, and yeah, just putting their foot down. Mothers have a lot of strength, a lot of power, and even if there's not a male presence in the home, you still got to maintain that strength so that their sons would be safe, because God forbid they go out there and they run into a road cop. Sons may not be coming home. And also for any mother listening now, set up the groundwork for your sons to have some kind of positive male role model in their life, whether it's an uncle, grandfather, older cousin, a neighbor that you trust very well, that would set up the develop a relationship with your child from a young age, so that when things do get hairy, and it will get hairy, when things do get hairy in your home, you can call them up and say, I'm having an issue with my son. He just left. I think he's going to do something stupid. Please, can you help?
Thank you for that. Jamal, go ahead. You have some questions?
I do, because you brought up some interesting things, and mentorship is definitely something that I'm grateful for. Pastor Kingsley was a mentor to me for many years, along with my youth, my choir director, things like that. So when you're looking at the problem, there's two sides, and kind of like in war, everyone is always pointing their weapons towards what they believe the problem is. Like in the case with all of these situations that happen, they usually follow with a video that shows, well, this individual had a criminal past, and to which our side will go, well, does that mean they deserve to die? Or maybe they were raised properly, and it's like, what about this side of the house? So when it comes to mentoring, like I grew up in a single parent home for a while before my mother remarried. And my mom was very, very island, so she was very strict on, but I realized that as a mother, probably the greatest contribution to this world God's ever created. It's hard for a mom to raise a boy, because as I've heard, it's hard for a woman to raise a man. She's either going to be too soft or too heavy. But as men, we have egos that go straight to our attack zone. Like you said, for years, Black men have been brought down. And finally, when I think that anger is spilling over, how do you, in this day and age, mentor not just young men, but men, period, especially those that have never had this type of mentoring, and all they see is more of us dying, and they just want to act?
That's a tough thing, because for that to really happen, you need bull elephants. There was a like a social experiment a couple of years ago, where young male elephants were taken from the herd, and they were growing up on their own. And without the guidance of the older bull elephants, they became hostile, dangerous to themselves, to other animals, to the environment. And they would go from, pasture to pasture, tearing everything up, killing rhinos, and they were very hostile. And they fixed that situation by bringing in older bull elephants. And what started to happen was those hostile young elephants started to follow the examples of the older bull elephants, right? We look at, in the 60s and the 70s and the 50s, from what we see in the historical videos and what we read in text, there were men that we were able to look up to, that were on the forefront, and young Black males during those times idolized these men, whether it was Malcolm X, whether it was Martin Luther King. When we look today, right, other than sports figures, who is it that we can actually see that's out there that the young men can really look to say, I want to, I appreciate this cause, I'm behind it, I want this to happen, let me get behind them. That's not really like a somebody famous or through sports or some kind of entertainment. We really don't have that. We really don't have that. Even President Barack Obama, who I respect very much, he does his best, but even him, like, he has good examples as far as the relationship he has with his family. That's something I would really like to point to young men. But when it comes to any specific causes that relate to what young Black males go through, there's not really people out there on the forefront that's doing the work. So it's hard. So to mentor these young men, we need to see older bull elephants come out and start showing and guiding these younger men. And we can't be afraid to do it because, the honest truth is some of us may be afraid to go into these communities where our younger hostile, men are, and look to show them how to act, how to behave, how to bring about positive change. If they want to see the communities improve, this is how we do it. Many of us are afraid to do that, and we can't be. We have to be able to go in and be the bull elephants and stand our ground and show these young men how to be men in this kind of environment today.
So definitely some sacrifices need to be made. And
Yeah.
I was thinking of a post, somebody mentioned that when all the elders sort of died away, so did all the traditions and everything of respect and order went with that.
Mhm.
So in some ways, even with my generation, I'm a father of two.
Mhm.
And I live a little bit with that fear of what example am I setting for my children?
Yeah.
And so I guess what we're trying to is, if we fix our side of the house, it won't solve the entire problem,
Mhm.
but it teaches our young men how to better carry themselves, and also our women as well, because they're
Yeah.
also attacked.
Yeah.
They're probably the most undefended aspect of the Black community. So I guess another aspect that is, when you're looking at what's on television and how our role models have gone from being Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and many like that to, and with all respect to them, rappers,
Yeah.
actors, we have these huge perception of, in order to be respected, you need to have a gun. That was the 90s. Now it's the latest cars, the latest. It's like we sort of swapped out the elders for idols.
Yeah. And if I can respond to Brian St. Louis's comment in the YouTube chat, he asked, "How can you say that? What about having a Black president for 8 years?" I can say that, and this is with all due respect, because I felt a level of pride, happiness, having come this far in America, where we were able to have a Black man voted twice for 2 terms and to be president. But we are now 4 years after him, and Floyd happened. So that's why I can say that. So I'm not downplaying President Barack Obama's contribution to America. So me saying that was not saying that. What I was saying is we don't have any champions for that specific cause for other than Colin Kaepernick, but they're trying to die him down. And he doesn't have enough people in his corner to push him forward. And also he's a sports figure, as I was saying, to focus solely on Black men, Black people not being seen as a threat to police officers. There was something that was said earlier about, I think you said it, about police officers want to just go home, and I agree with that. Nobody should have to go to work and feel like their life is threatened, right? But at the same time, I shouldn't be pulled over by a police officer and hope that I'm not seen as a threat at the same time. So that's what I was saying, Brian St. Louis. So I wasn't trying to downplay President Obama's contribution to history, by no means. But we need champions. We need bull elephants to focus on that specific thing.
Thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out, Andre. And it's important for us to continue to have people in high-level positions, those who are going into those communities, like you said, where you may feel uncomfortable. It's a rough neighborhood, but we need Black and brown men on both sides of the spectrum, on all levels, all industries, showing that it is possible for us to accomplish greatness. Now, for those of you who tuned in for the first time, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us here at TFG 365 TV. My name is Yanique Jackson. I'm the executive producer here, and I've invited some of my top level executives to join the conversation. Today's topic is called Don't Stop, Keep Pushing. It is a virtual event series as well as an initiative to encourage our Black and brown men not to give up on their dreams and to help us to be a support system. Women from different cultural background, various cultural backgrounds, Caucasians, Hispanic, Asians, all of us can do our part in order to eradicate racism, even though it may seem far-fetched for some, but we believe it's possible. And while that's happening, we want to make sure our Black and brown men do not retreat, do not give up, but they still press forward with the gifts and the talents and the dreams God has put on their heart to do. All right, so before we bring up the next segment, which we're going to continue to talk about mentorship, but we have a real life scenario here on this show with Jamal and Kingsley. But before we bring them in, we want to be able to allow those of you who are watching on Facebook or YouTube and even in the replay, make sure to stay connected with us. We're going to provide some links to the books that are available. The Emotelligent Leader, which was written by Kingsley Grant, as well as From a Fatherless Father to His Sons by Andre D. Harrison. Watch this clip. And by the way, if you have any questions, make sure to post it in the comment below. We want to make sure to address those questions when we come back from this quick commercial. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit that red subscribe button and let your friends know that you're watching TFG 365 TV, where we provide strategies to help you in all areas of life. We take a holistic approach to professional and business development, and we're here for you. So all the content that will be shared on our new YouTube page is going to surround that very topic. All right, so now we have a real life scenario. We talked about managing our emotions earlier. We spoke about mentorship as it relates to encouraging our brown and Black men not to stop, but to keep pushing. We have an interesting story here. Kingsley Grant and Jamal, I want to invite you back. What's interesting is Kingsley Grant has played a vital role in many lives over the years here in South Florida. And I have benefited from that as well, but as well as my husband. So Kingsley, let me tell you something. You have impacted thousands of people from in their younger years and now top level executives. Like you, we could even fill a room with the amount of trophies you deserve for the time that you've invested in our lives. And I just want to take this time to really say thank you. My husband's in the back like, hey, me too. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Jamal, earlier before the show started, you shared an interesting story about a time when Kingsley Grant was trying to encourage you to be a better person. Can you share a little bit about that?
Goodness. So this is back when Pastor Kingsley was my youth pastor, and during that time in my life, I was always upset. I was always angry, and I dealing with probably father issues, whatever. But I was always angry. And this one particular day, we were in the break it back area, and I just snapped, and I was going off, and very lovingly pulled me to the side. Didn't embarrass me in front of everybody, just pulled me to the side and was just talking to me, just encouraging me and asking me what was wrong. Why was I so upset? Like, he didn't just go straight at and attack, pull me to the side. And that has really been how our relationship has been. Because I know when you first met me, I was a bit of a handful and a half. But I could never once say in those, 10 plus, 15 plus years, I never was downcast by you. I was never talked down by you. It was always, what's wrong? Why do you feel this way? And how can we solve it? You know, and I think of all the many messages as a child and just how you watched me grow up. And I could never say that you've ever been anything but positive, stern, and always straightforward with me. And I think those are the great marksmen of a mentor, not telling me what I want to hear. I mean, I felt so bad. I remember praying, going, Lord, please don't strike me down for talking bad about one of your servants. Just like I talk about Sheldon. Sheldon was another one who I had a moment where we were a youth choir and I snapped and he took me to the back. And I remember he held me up. I was off the ground and he was like, what is wrong? And he was the first one to really just dive into me. And I shared my world. And it's like, here I have my youth pastor and my youth choir director both becoming mentors. And I didn't realize how important it is to have that. So thank you for all of those years, because that effect has echoed throughout my life. So, and now I went from being a handful to like maybe a pinkyful, you know, just working on it. So, but mentorship is very important.
You know, I think that I appreciate that, Jamal. Thanks for that, you know, for sharing that. And I think what I really admire about what you shared is because some people will look back and wonder, you know, well, let me put it this way. I find that sometimes we do certain things today that may not seem to the person who is the recipient to be a great thing right now. But I always say to parents, especially parents, keep on doing what you need to do the right thing, because one day your children will rise up and call you blessed. They may not call you blessed today. They call you everything else but blessed. Right? But they will one day. They look back and realize that what you were trying to do, especially when they're in a position like yours, right? So I think what I saw, Jamal, because I look back and I remember you had a lot of gifts because you were talented. There's no question about it. And I realized that if we're going to foster the talent and the creativity, we can't kill that spirit. We got to find a way to harness it in a different way. So I was always thinking in my mind, okay, I knew your background. I knew good enough about you. And I realized that maybe if I could just help you see that these gifts and talents can either, you know, lead you to a good place or a bad place. And so I think with that in mind, I came from a place of trying to be a fatherly figure, but also to model, as Andre was talking about so eloquently, how do we mentor? And I believe that that's one of the things that were happening at the time. And it's great that, you know, it's one thing to be a mentor, but we have to have a good student. And obviously you're a good student of that mentorship, where you now look at who you are.
And that's important. Something else I would mention about you saw the raw material, you saw that, and I think that's something that we need to make sure we understand, that as we're looking at people in the world today and what's going on, especially in our community, our men and women, they have talents, they have abilities, they come from rough areas, or some of them just didn't come from the quote unquote cookie cutter background. And how do you not kill that spirit? How do you continue to water it, trust the time, and they're going to go through it. And like I said, it's either going to lead them to a good place or a bad place. But if they have those opportunities and made available to them, I think they have a much better chance of an outcome. So I definitely can say for a fact that I'm a good example of, hey, when you continue to pour into somebody positively, correct them when necessary. And you were like a big father figure to me. I remember after that, our relationship changed. I was like,
yes,
okay.
yes.
But for the better.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I
you know, I think
you
said something very interesting, Jamal. I want to kind of piggyback on, because I think you pointed out when you were talking, in my head, I'm hearing, okay, you know, when you snapped like you did, and you know, I find that sometimes what we do is we can either be reactive or become responsive. So reactive is contagious. It's really feeding off the moment. Had I react to what you did, we could create a very, you know, a synergy where things escalate, right? So we are not going to accomplish anything that way. And I find many times we see in our world today, people are more reactive. Now, I always use this way of explaining the difference between being reactive and responsive. Imagine, Jamal, you went to the doctor and your doctor said to you, Jamal, I'm gonna write you a prescription. And he or she wrote you a prescription. Now, a week later, they call you and say, Jamal, how is the medication? And you say to the doctor, Doc, I am reacting to the medication. I'm reacting. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing.
Right.
React to the medication.
Right, exactly. So we're reacting to medication. So reacting is never a good thing. So what if you said to the doctor, Doc, oh, I'm responding to this medication. I'm really responding so well, good or bad?
It's a good thing because I'm properly moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. So when we respond to something, we're in a better place to get the outcome. We are healthier. We're doing things the right way, more appropriately. Our bodies are responding to the medication, and we get the outcome that was desired. So what happened is reactive or reacting to situations at the moment is never going to be a good thing. So we have to buy time, control, use our breathing. And I put it this way. Number one, we got to regulate. So the 3 R's: regulate our emotions at the time, so we don't react. Secondly, we have to reflect on what it is we're thinking, feeling, what do we want, and then we respond. So in that order. So we regulate, reflect, and respond. What we do, I call it my 30-second rule of managing anger, or a highly charged emotion. So I have to buy myself time, but to do that, I had to breathe. I gotta know my body and step back for a moment, and then it gave me an opportunity to reflect. So I'm more cognitive, I'm more rational, and I have a better way to respond. And once I respond more appropriately, we get a lot better results. And that's what I believe we need to do: not react, but respond.
Thank you for that, Kingsley. And that was such a beautiful story to see that play out when, imagine if Kingsley wasn't there. I mean, I'm sure God would use someone else, if that wasn't the case. But just the mere fact that he was there, and you did have Sheldon reinforce positive messages, allowing you to, like Andre was saying, Jamal, to just let them share, let them vent, because their feelings are valid. They're frustrated, they are upset, but now, all right, now that you've shared, let's go to the next step, which is, letting you know that you don't have to continue to live a life of fear, anger, frustration, that you do have a life that is valuable. There is a purpose and plan for your life. So now let's kind of make sure that you stay on that narrow path to find that. And look at Jamal today. He's a father. He is serving our country, and we appreciate that. And look, he's on the show, adding so much value to it. So we want to say thank you so much for those of you who are watching. Don't stop, keep pushing. I want to invite Kingsley Grant to just share with us in a moment a few closing remarks. I'm going to invite Andre to do the same, and Jamal. Jamal, what's your take on the show today? Go ahead and give us your closing remarks.
I'll ever say that it was great to obviously link back up with one of my mentors, and the positivity and the fact that no matter what's going on, we came to a good conclusion that mentorship is absolutely important. The old guards have passed away, so we need to, as young men growing into older men, we need to make sure that we are instilling in our men of our same age and younger about how to respond as opposed to just react. Validate who they are, because like you said, it's important to validate people's feelings. I think that's where a lot of the problem starts. The moment we start validating people's feelings, they become defensive. So today's show definitely reinforced the importance of, yes, we hear you. Yes, we understand you. And what I don't understand, help me to understand, so that together we can build something positive and respond accordingly. So I'm grateful for that aspect.
Thank you, Jamal. And Andre, we are definitely going to include your link in the comment section below after the show. You wrote a book called From a Father's Father to His Sons, which I read from beginning to end. It's a beautiful book, and it needs to be, out there as top seller, and every parent should read it, I must say. But what are some of your closing remarks as it relates to the show, and just some encouragement to those who are watching today?
I would definitely say there's never lose hope and work toward whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And if I can encourage older men and older women out there, if we really want to see our young people change and grow up to be successful in every area, if we want them to grow up to be emo-intelligent, we need to be that first and be that model for them to see. So let's be what we want our young people to be.
Thank you for that. And last but not least, the emo-intelligent leader himself, Kingsley Grant. What are your closing remarks for those who are watching today?
I want to say that as you listen to everyone share a different perspective, I want you to sift through and ask the question, what was the most helpful thing for you? Don't try to do everything you heard today right away. Pick one thing and begin to focus on that and decide, okay, is it my emotion? Is it my mentoring aspect? Is it me as a student of a mentor, as a mentee, as Jamal described? And how will I respond? How will I be better as a result? So how will you be better as a result of listening to the show today? And as the whole idea, the theme behind it, don't stop, keep pushing. I love the push idea. And one of the acronym is push, pray until something happens. So keep on pushing on your knees is very important. And here's my last statement is this: life is filled with disruptions, but disruptions are filled with life. Do not abort.
Thank you. And this conversation is not a one-ended show, just so you know. For those of you who are watching, we are continuing this conversation, and we will have more private events for those of you who are watching who are Black and brown men, young men who want a space to share, to vent, to really express how you're feeling emotionally. And we have our experts who are on the show now, Kingsley Grant and Andre D. Harrison, as well as Jamal Smith, who will do their best to help you navigate those feelings, to make sure you do not abort the mission. You do have a purpose and plan, and we want to see that fulfilled before things happen, as far as before you leave this earth. But definitely leave a legacy, because we believe in you. And we're going to continue to pray for all of you that are watching, pray for our experts, and pray that we get to a place where hopefully we no longer have to talk about racism in this sense. But like Andre said, hopefully 50 years from now, things will be much different. All right, well, remember to subscribe, and remember to like and share the show. Don't stop, keep pushing, and stay connected with us, and we'll keep you posted on the next show. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon. And once again, my name is Unique with Training for Greatness. Take care. Bye.
I love my Black man, my Black father, my Black brothers, but most of all, my Black man. You are loved, you are appreciated, and you are cherished. You are strong, you are wise, and you're courageous. And while they're trying to figure out if they want to embrace you, I cringe at the thought that I'd ever have to replace you. So while all lives matter, yeah, that's true. But because you're Black while living, and Black while driving, and Black while jogging, Black lives matter too. We respect you, we love you, we appreciate you. I love my Black man.
I love you, Black man. Raised by a really amazing, the most incredible man in the world. Shout out to Livingston Knowles. So much of what I know about how you should take care of a family and rise to the occasion and be a person of honor, person of your word, is because I learned it from my dad.
Hey, what's up? I'm DJ Liz, and my daughter Bella is here with me. Hi! My husband is African American, and I have a son who's 8 years old. Dignity. They are intelligent, they are strong and powerful and courageous. I love you guys so much, and I just pray for hope and peace and in your hearts, and to keep believing and to keep having faith in what God has given you to do on this earth.
I love you, Black man. You're brave. You're intelligent. You're loving. You're passionate. You're ambitious. Your voice is valuable. You're a warrior. Don't stop. Keep running.
Hi, my name is Debbie, and I am married to an amazing man named Ramon. We've been married for 15 years, and he is an awesome husband, a godly man that leads his family and loves his family. He chases after the dreams and the visions that God has put upon his heart. And Boo, I just want you to don't stop. Keep running after your dreams. We love you.